Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stew again. In this video, we're heading to Redlands, California to take a look at Metrolink's Aero service featuring the Stadler FLIRT. You're also going to meet my dad, Papa Stew. Say hi, Papa Stew.
Hi.
And we'll see where he fits into the picture. But why, you ask? This bonanza of content is in aid of this channel reaching 5,000 subscribers, that's why! To say thanks, I wanted to do something special, so off we go! Metrolink's Aero service is a light rail line from Redlands, California to San Bernardino, California. It has 5 stops over the course of 9 miles. We'll look at each of those stops and ride the rails. Before we do, let's take a look at the technology involved here. Aero service utilizes the Stadler FLIRT in a diesel-electric configuration. This features an interesting smaller power pack car that contains the diesel engines. For Aero, the power pack is sandwiched between 2 passenger units which contain the electric motors that ultimately provide the motive force. Stadler is a Swiss manufacturer of mostly light rail configurations. Due to Buy American federal requirements, these trains are assembled in Salt Lake City. Metrolink Aero is not unique in the United States in utilizing these trains. They're also currently used in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. What is unique, however, is that Aero service will deploy the FLIRT H2 in 2024. That will be the first hydrogen fuel cell powered passenger train in the United States. I'll likely make my way back to Aero next year to check it out. I started my journey at the historic downtown Redlands Station. This station was originally on the Redlands Loop, which ferried passengers throughout San Bernardino Valley in inland Southern California. Most of the loop is gone, replaced by freeway in some places. However, the southern section from downtown San Bernardino to Redlands still exists, and that is what we shall ride. Development is springing up around this Redlands station. So far, mostly entertainment, dining, and shopping. There are places to work and play nearby, but places to live are conspicuously absent aside from a few single-family homes left over from a bygone era. Granted, it was the weekend, but this lack of living space is surely contributing to the space feeling largely empty at the moment. This could be rectified by the redevelopment of the Redlands Mall into mixed use, which is planned. That and other adjacent development could bring in more than 1,000 apartment units a block or two away at an undisclosed time in the future. Maybe we'll have something to compare by the time the FLIRT H2 shows up next year. Here comes the train now. It seems this train was mostly being used to travel to the University of Redlands and back, so let's head there first. It's only about a mile. Let's see what it's like. All aboard! There are various Metrolink fares available that apply to Aero as well. I chose the weekend day pass for $10. This lets you ride Metrolink all day on the weekend, which was good for me because I wanted to ride Aero as much as I needed to get my footage. The trains are clean, the seats are roomy and comfortable. Seating is a mix of inline in pairs and opposed in groups of 4 with and without a small table. There is some standing room as well. There is a notable security presence at the main stations and on the train. Staff is friendly and helpful. My only real complaint was that the AC could have been turned up a little. The ride is smooth, as you can see from the footage. Top speed on the route is about 60 miles per hour, and there is some pleasant acceleration between the more distant stations. Redlands is a city of about 75,000 people on the eastern end of the San Bernardino Valley in Southern California, about 60 miles east of Los Angeles. Native tribes are thought to have lived in the area for a few thousand years before the Spanish arrived in the late 18th century and built an extension to the San Gabriel Mission in the area in 1819 in the midst of the Mexican War of Independence. 2 years later, the area was officially part of Mexico. After the Mexican-American War, territory including California was ceded to the United States. In 1850, California joined the Union as the 31st state. 5 years later, the first citrus tree was planted in the Redlands area. In the 1880s, railroads arrived and helped drive the citrus powerhouse that made the area one of the richest in the country. This is where the colloquial name for the general area, Inland Empire, comes from. The citrus industry is mostly gone, but many of the mansions of former citrus magnates in the area remain and are part of the charm of present-day Redlands. The Redlands Loop was constructed in the late 19th century to facilitate shipment of citrus throughout the east end of the San Bernardino Valley. It slowly fell into disuse in the mid-20th century as it was replaced by suburban development and infrastructure necessary to support that. Even the Mentone Depot closed up shop by the 1990s despite significant, albeit steadily disappearing citrus groves in the area to the present. The San Bernardino to Redlands portion of the Redlands Loop saw just enough activity to allow it to remain and be revived into the service we're experiencing now. We're now approaching the University of Redlands, which was founded in 1907 and is one of the older institutions of higher learning in the inland area. The University of Redlands Station is currently end of line, but the old right-of-way is still there a block to the east. It has been partially converted to a trail, which we see here. The tracks are still there too. This trail heads toward Mentone, and it's possible aero service could be extended out there in the future. That brings us back to Papa Stu because he used to work out there. Let's find out more about that. What company did you work for in Mentone, and what was your position?
I worked for the Santa Fe Railway, and my position was the relief agent.
And what was a day like working in Mentone out at the depot?
Well, it was mostly just picking up billing and billing the cars and sending them out. San Bernardino, we sent all over the country, but most of it was orange products and toiletry products. I also made trips to the post office every day, collect the mail and go to lunch. And then I came back and billed the cars so they could be sent to wherever they were supposed to go.
I can tell you from experience that Mentone doesn't look a whole lot different now compared to the last time the depot was operating. Now that we've heard about Mentone, let's hop back onto the Aero train and we'll hear more from Papa Stu about what it was like working for Santa Fe Railway back in the day on our way to downtown San Bernardino.
I was working for the railway when I got out of the Army, and so I worked the extra board, the operator's extra board for 10 years, and I relieved agents and operators and towermen. I relieved them for their vacation for that period of time. And after that, I got a regular job, but I had bidding privileges, so I could bid on different jobs, and I could go to different places. I went to towers. I went to depots. I went to different places that required my services.
Our first stop west of downtown Redlands is Redlands Esri. This is the western border of Redlands and mainly serves Esri, which is a geospatial tech company that has a large corporate campus here. If you have used an informational map on the internet at any time, you've probably used something Esri related. This station is currently a quaint idea, but Arrow just doesn't connect to residential in a meaningful way. It is zoned urban use, however, and a couple of nearby properties might be used for housing or mixed use in the future. Let's hop back on the train and check out the next stop. What year did you start?
Started in 1963 on the operator's extra board.
And that was with Santa Fe the entire time?
Yes, it was Santa Fe the entire time. And I worked needles, I worked Barstow, I worked all over the place. Wherever there was a depot on the Santa Fe system, I worked it.
That was in Southern California, though.
Yes, Southern California.
So you had a couple of celebrity sightings while you were working for Santa Fe. Why don't you talk about that?
Oh yeah, when I was working down in San Juan Capistrano for the agent for relief, in comes Mickey Rooney. And I was kind of surprised to see him there. But he was going down to the racetrack at Del Mar Racetrack, do some gambling, I guess, or bidding, or watching the horses. But then, after that, I was in Victorville working the agent's job, and I went to lunch one day, and as I went to lunch, in the door comes Roy Rogers, Dale Evans, and all their kids. And I thought that was kind of interesting.
Right, because they lived up there at that time.
Yeah, they lived in Apple Valley.
This is the Tippecanoe Station. It's more correct to call it a platform. I'm pretty sure no one ever uses this. There really isn't much around. A couple of businesses and a few warehouses. It's generally not a nice area, and there is no parking. To get this footage, I had to park 2 blocks away, avoid a pack of feral people, and duck under a row of ill-maintained trees. The station is close to the gigantic suburban Tri-City development. This development is not transit-oriented at all, and it stalled out before expanding to the station location anyway. There is residential around here, but it's nearly all single family of the variety that's apt to have a chain link fence around it. This station is mainly a waste, and they should probably bypass it to save a few minutes. Let's continue on to our endpoint, the downtown San Bernardino Intermodal Station.
When I was the agent at Riverside, working for the Santa Fe, somebody broke into my depot one night and was going to steal all the cash in the safe. The only trouble was there was no cash in the safe. just postage stamps. There was about $30 worth of them, and it must have taken them about 20 hours to break into that safe to get $20 worth of postage stamps. And I called the police the next morning, and I got a big kick out of it.
So what you're saying is crime doesn't pay?
No. I guess not. Those guys had spent a lot of time on that.
Let's talk about San Bernardino a little as we approach downtown. At 220,000 people, San Bernardino is one of the larger cities in the Inland Empire. The San Bernardino area's early origins mirror Redlands, as they aren't far apart. As an entity, San Bernardino started with the arrival of Mormons from Utah in the 1850s. Things took off in the 1880s with the arrival of the railroads and the citrus trade. San Bernardino and Colton are the junction of several rail lines, and the vicinity continues to be vital to intermodal trade in combination with the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles and countless logistics warehouses in the area. San Bernardino entered an area of decline in the 1980s, which was accelerated by the closure of Norton Air Force Base in the 90s. The city has been trying to get a toehold for recovery since, without much success. The downtown San Bernardino station is part of the San Bernardino Transit Center, a meeting point of Aero Service, Metrolink, and Omnitrans bus service. Unfortunately, downtown San Bernardino is most graciously described as economically challenged and unpleasant. There really isn't anything around it you'd want to walk to, except the single-A baseball stadium next door. 2 blocks away, the city is demolishing an abandoned mall and planning to replace it with a mixed-use development. However, the way things are going, they may end up with a 43-acre vacant lot. The only housing within a half-mile of the station is single-family on the other side of Interstate 215. This station is an endpoint for Metrolink, which then serves points west to LA Union Station, including the historic San Bernardino Santa Fe Depot. This grand depot was constructed in 1918 to replace the original depot, which was destroyed by fire. It is most famous for its Mission Revival architectural style, featuring long, arched colonnades and bell tower domes commonly found in California's Spanish Mission system. This style was and still is popular in California. This depot went into decline with the end of the Pacific Electric Railway at the beginning of World War II, followed the decline of U.S. passenger rail in the mid-20th century, and was cut off from downtown San Bernardino in the late 50s by what is now Interstate 215 to make matters worse. The depot was then renovated and restored in the 1990s and early 2000s. Now it's a potential stop for California high-speed rail if it ever gets that far. In addition to Metrolink service to Los Angeles seen here, this station is also connected to BNSF's intermodal yard. Union Pacific Freight runs through here too. And Amtrak Southwest Chief stops here between Los Angeles and Chicago.
Well, I worked at the San Bernardino Depot for quite a few years, off and on. And what I did there is I was a crew dispatcher. San Bernardino was a good job, train owner operator job. You had to copy train owners so you could clear trains through that area.
Okay, so right now the Amtrak Southwest chief goes through that station, and that used to be the Santa Fe super chief.
Yes.
Do you remember any other passenger routes that went through San Bernardino while you were working there, or just that one?
El Capitan went through San Bernardino. It originated in Los Angeles and it went to Chicago.
The San Bernardino Depot had a Harvey House for a long time. Was that still there while you were working there, like in operation?
No. They had one in Barstow too, and that was probably in operation until 1970 or something like that. But otherwise, no, they just closed those Harvey houses down.
With that, we complete our journey between Redlands and San Bernardino on Metrolink's Aero service and down one path of memory lane on the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe. I hope you enjoyed this special 5,000 subscribers video of an interesting rail route in my neck of the woods. This won't be my last video like this. I'd like to visit the Brightline West right-of-way on a semi-regular basis once construction gets going. I'm also interested in other local infrastructure projects, rail and otherwise. Thanks for taking the time to indulge me, Metrolink, and Papa Stu. Most of all, thanks for subscribing, if you have. If you haven't, you know what to do. That's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you riding the rails between Redlands and San Bernardino on Metrolink's Aero service.